first caller who waited on the line and helped us test out the lines. Mace, you're live with Eric and Matt. How are you doing?
Okay. Good. How you guys doing today?
Good. Good.
Good.
I can feel the heat emanating
I really
from
enjoy your. I really enjoy your guys' show. It's really helped me through my struggles.
I'm actually really calm. Just it's frustrating.
Oh, I am calling. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. The reason I'm calling is I'm a new atheist, I should say.
Congratulations.
And,
welcome.
And I'm not out yet, but maybe after this phone call I will be. My struggle is the people around me. I don't see too many atheists around me, so I don't know where to turn to, who to talk to, what to say.
That's easy. I've even done conventions in North Carolina. There's a lot of atheists in North Carolina. You can go to ncsecular.org, which is North Carolina's secular association. You can contact American Atheists and find out if there's a state director there. There's a no. I mean, I don't know if anybody's still using Meetup or whatever, but I'm pretty sure that a Google search for atheist groups in your area would find somebody, because having been invited to speak at conventions in North Carolina, I find it hard to believe that there's not a bunch of other atheists hanging out not far from you.
Right. Okay.
In fact,
I'm a little bit nervous, so hang in there.
That's all right.
Yeah.
And you know, actually, one of our people on social media, John, lives up in North Carolina. Wonderful, wonderful people. If you really are having a hard time finding other atheists in the area, I suggest you recall the Recovering from Religion Foundation. Their hotline project has an amazing set of it is the largest collection of resources that I've seen for people to be able to find local groups. And that goes to everybody watching right now. If you want to be able to connect with local atheists in your area, give the Recovering from Religion Foundation a call. They have been exhaustive in their search, and I absolutely suggest them to everybody.
Oh, that's awesome. And I had to laugh the other day. One of my friends was talking to me, and his son came out to him as an atheist, and he's at school right now, so I private messaged him and talked to him a little bit. And his dad was thinking he was a devil worshiper, and I was laughing to myself, but I didn't know how to come across to him to let him know that atheists are not devil worshipers. They do not believe in God. They do not believe in the devil. And I didn't know how to come across to him as trying to tell him, hey, this is the way it is.
Well, you know, I honestly thought that too. I didn't know any atheists. And so for the longest time, that's what my church taught me, was that if you are an atheist, that means that you worship Satan. And it took a lot longer than I really would have hoped. And I think that a huge way to help with that is, if you are safe, are you in a safe position to be able to come out as an atheist?
I think I'd be in a safe position.
Okay. Well, if you can be, please do so, because what you can do is you can be that person that people think of when they think of an atheist. It's getting exposed to that and being able to see, hey, this is a regular person who does regular things, who eats every day, who, you know, the more you interact in the environment around you and show that you're not this monster that they've created, then they have to come face to face with the fact that what they have been building in their minds just doesn't comport with reality.
Also, I just got a note from the booth that there are people in the chat room saying that they are in North Carolina and are atheists who would love to talk to you in the chat room right now associated with the show.
In the YouTube live chat? Yeah, it looks like.
Well, that'd be great. How do I get to the live chat?
So if you are if you're looking on YouTube, you'll be able to see there's a button. I believe it's on the right side marked live chat. So just to the right of the video, you should be able to see it.
Okay,
Pop in,
I appreciate that.
No problem, man.
I'll do that. I know it sounds kind of fucked up. I'm like, what the hell? You know, I mean, he was talking about devil worshippers and stuff like that. I was like, his son's not a devil worshipper. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, one of the questions for my discussion tomorrow night, the first one is, what common misconceptions do Christians tend to have about atheists? And that was one of the potential ones that I considered raising tomorrow night. I might raise it in passing and just saying, gosh, there's a bunch of misconceptions, and right down to, you know, hey, we worship the devil or whatever. I'm not exactly sure which one I'm going to focus on the most, but it probably won't be that, because when even for those who think that we worship the devil or are convinced that we are working for the devil, most of them, I think, would at least understand that that's not our position. They probably think that we are working for the devil unknowingly. We are gullible and have been duped into serving Satan, and that's fundamentally different from actively worshiping evil. But there's been so much miscommunication from the pulpit for so long that it's hard to say.
See, I actually really thought that atheists gathered together and worked together to rule the government. And I mean, I was in a pretty wild church that said a lot of that stuff, man. They hold unholy sacraments, and it was pretty wild.
You were pretty stupid.
I figure
I still am. I figure that's what I would say to somebody else.
That's fair. No, that's fine.
The thing is,
Hop on my show. Stupid.
So was I.
Yeah.
Was my point. Because I didn't know. On Monday nights, we would do visitation. People would show up at the church on Sundays, and they'd put their little information in the visitor's card in the offering plate. And then on Monday night, we'd go out and visit those people. And I would constantly come across people who I thought did not believe in Jesus, did not believe in God. And my job was to, engage with them and witness and share, et cetera. I never knew they were atheists. I mean, that's how much misinformation is out there. When I would go out and say there are people who are lost, who are in need of salvation, who don't believe in God, I didn't know they were atheists. I thought atheists were something else because I had been taught that atheists were these evil folks who wanted to destroy God's country and kill babies and, all these other things. And that was my limited exposure. I'd never run across an atheist. So I probably thought they worshiped the devil too. I just don't recall it being that clear.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
And that's the other thing that's worth pointing out is everybody I know is stupid a lot of the time on a lot of issues. It's getting to the point where you recognize it, because if I were to sit here and start listing the stupid things that I believed or did over the last, 49 years, man, that'd be a terrible show and long.
I'd watch it.
How can we come out to them people to let them know, hey, we don't believe in God, we don't believe in the devil, we don't believe in the bullshit? How can we come across to them about that?
So there are a couple ways to do it. The first, and I think the most impactful, is also the hardest route, and that is that in your day-to-day life, when somebody would say, oh, hey, I lost my car keys, oh, pray to this saint. Right. All I would say was, I would actually just say, I'm an atheist. I actually don't believe that. And then if they want to talk about it, then we move into that conversation. And really, the biggest changes are the ones that happen around the kitchen table. Right. And so when you open that up to be able to talk about it, that's fantastic. But if you want to do it in a larger group, if you want to find that, even if there isn't anybody around you that you can get to, online activism is a thing, and you can get involved. And if you don't want to or you don't have the time, you can always donate. One of those ways that you can donate is you can donate to us, patreon.com/talkheathen-to-me. You can donate to what Matt is doing in his talks and debates. It's fantastic, spreading the word, getting people to think about it.
Right.
The big thing about getting them to know is, first of all, I want as many out atheists as I can get. But I also want people who are comfortable. You have to be ready to accept the consequences, that people, you might lose friends, family, you might be ostracized, et cetera. And so once you've decided that you're fine with facing the consequences, you don't have to put an ad in the newspaper, take out a full page. I'm a godless heathen and I'm here to tell you why you can just be yourself and be honest in conversations, so that when the first time somebody asks you, hey, where do you go to church? The typical response from people who are not yet comfortable identifying as an atheist and being out is, oh, I'm just not that religious. And that avoids everything. But you can say, I don't go to church, I'm an atheist. Or I don't go to church, I don't believe in God. Those sorts of things. And if it's done matter-of-factly, this is probably one of the biggest problems, is that religions are so pervasive and potentially insidious that even those of us, I think it's clear by now that I'm an out atheist. It might be. And yet still, if I'm on a plane and somebody asks that question, I've caught myself trying to be a little sheepish, not in avoiding it, but, oh, no, I'm an atheist. I don't, as if I'm apologizing, as if I'm trying to keep it. I'm being honest, but I don't want to make a big deal out of it. I don't want to offend your sensibilities as a Christian that you might be sitting next to a godless heathen. And it takes work to stop doing that.
I don't want to apologize to somebody for me being a non-believer. You know what I'm saying?
Me neither. But I've caught myself doing it. It's the way you react in culture. It reminds me of other things in culture too. When people talk about, why don't women come forward with sexual assault allegations? It's because we have a culture that reinforces and encourages the idea that that's potentially a bad thing, that it may be better to just shut up and keep this hidden away and hope for a better day. And even people who know this and people who are outspoken and forthright will still succumb to this peer pressure. We know none of us are above peer pressure. And so I don't want to lie to people. I don't want to try to hide it. And yet I've certainly found myself, even recently, even within the last couple of years, kind of doing the, hey, I don't really want to talk about this here because, I'm not trying to cause a fuss or anything. I just don't believe that stuff, and let's leave it at that. And that may be because I talk about it all the time and I want to break, or it might be that I am buying into some cultural component that wants to keep me silenced.
Right.
And you can also inadvertently prop it up. So the matter of fact way that you go about it can really help. I mean, another example that I'll give you is I've heard plenty of people share their story where they'll go, they want to come out to their family as atheist, and they'll, Mom, Dad, I'm an atheist. And all of a sudden what you did is you opened up this place where all of that baggage and all of these misconceptions, you just dump in,
Sit down, I have something important to say.
Yeah, because if you're talking to somebody who does have all of those misconceptions, then what you said isn't just, I'm an atheist. What you said is, I hate God, I worship the devil, I eat babies, and that I want nothing to do with you, that I want nothing to do with the family or holidays or anything like that, and I'm really just cutting my life off from you. And what you need to do is be able to, when you talk about it, it doesn't need to be this massive event, because it doesn't change that you are a good person. It doesn't change that you're a son, that you're a brother, that you're a father, that you're a partner, right? It doesn't change any of those things. It's just your point on one viewpoint. And so when you make it this big, I need you to sit down.
The cultural impact doesn't just apply to religion. It's everywhere. We know, and this is easy and obvious. We know that cooperation is in our best interest. We know that conflict is against our best interest. And so, by and large, even some of those of us who are the most out and the most prone to having the conversations are still prone to avoid conflict because we recognize that it's in our best interest. Why? I don't need to tell you, hey, you're sitting there telling me how you got your chakras aligned the other day and you feel so much better. Probably, in some respects, the right thing for me to do is to tell you that that's a bunch of pseudoscience garbage and you've bought into a placebo effect and you should probably stop wasting your money and your time on getting your chakras aligned. But what's more likely to happen, even with me as a skeptic sitting there, is to go, and then go back to my life, because creating a conflict with you over this, it may not be that there's a benefit that is obvious in the cost-benefit analysis. I'm never going to see you again, maybe, if we're sitting at a bus station or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
That makes a lot of sense.
Well,
so if you was to come out to your family or your friends or whatever, the best thing would be to just sit down and say, hey, I don't believe, I don't believe in God. I don't believe in the devil. I'm still the same person.
I don't even,
and everything like that.
Yeah, it totally depends on you and your family dynamic. And I think you would probably know better than we would, because we don't know that family dynamic. So I know that I've shared for myself personally what has helped was when I talked to my family about it, I communicated my fears first because I felt like I needed to. And so for me it was, hey, I want to talk to you about this thing, but I'm afraid that you're going to not care about me very much, or you're going to care less for me. And that put them in a position of reassurance. And so that helped for me, but that won't help for everybody. So when the time came, I was like, I don't believe, I'm an atheist. They went, well, we still love you. And then what does that mean? But there can be other ways to do it. It just depends. I wish that I could give you more, man.
For most people, for most people, it's going to be a big deal. You won't have to worry about how to do it, because in the family situations where it's probably going to be the biggest deal, somebody's going to be asking you why you're not going to church.
I see.
And when they do, you can just say, yeah, I just don't believe that stuff anymore. And that can start a conversation. You know, it doesn't include the A word. It doesn't force somebody to sit down. It doesn't automatically put them on a defensive. They've asked you a question. You've answered it honestly. I don't believe that stuff anymore. And that, you know, in those types of situations, that family member is going to feel an obligation to get to the heart of this and see what they can do. And trust me, even when I'm trying to maintain myself, the conversation with Muhammad became incredibly frustrating because I just can't get an answer to the question. That's going to happen when you start talking about, hey, I don't believe, and this is why I don't go to church, for the same reason that, you know, you're not going to synagogue.
And you'll find on the other side of things that a lot of people will assume that you haven't put much thought into it. And just if you do get the chance to talk about it for years, right? Yeah, it really does help. I had a loved one who told me when I came out as an atheist, I'm going to not use names, obviously, but they said, well, Eric, that's okay because the Apostle Paul used to torture Christians, and you know, he came around. I said, well, actually, he went by Saul before the road to Damascus. And at that point, my family member looked at me and went, oh, yeah. You know? And they said, okay. And that was it because, you know, they needed to engage in a way that they went, oh, okay, now I understand. They actually put some thought into it. And it's not always that easy. But
if Saul was persecuting Christians and Eric is persecuting Christians, and Saul has this turning around moment and changes the first letter of his name to a P, then when Eric does that, you'll be prick.
I already am. You should read the YouTube comments. That's okay.
I'm never reading YouTube comments.
All right. So, Mace, this has actually been a really cool talk. I appreciate this.
By the way, since we kept interrupting you, do you have more to say?
No, I wanted to tell you guys I really appreciate what you guys have been telling me and everything. And I like your shows. I really do like your shows. And you guys have been really informative. And you've really been helping me out. It's not like I just look at it, and I actually listen to you guys and study with you guys and stuff like that. So,
well, jump in the chat. I think you'll find some friends.
Yeah, they're good people.
I appreciate it.
All right, take care, brother.
Thanks.
And you guys have a good rest of the day now.
You too, bud.
You know, I'm actually looking at the YouTube chat, and I've heard a couple people say, "Oh, I'm not able to financially support." You know, what's going on in the shows. There are ways to support that are not just financial. And they really, really do help. One of those ways is to subscribe, is to share it out, because the more people that are exposed to it, the more we can get bumped up in the ratings, right? If you're listening to this as a podcast, hop onto iTunes, hop onto Google Play, and give us 5 stars. It really does go a long way to bumping us up in suggestions. Right now, did you know that we are at almost 1,200 people watching live? That's going to break a record almost with the amount of people watching live. And yet there are only 170 upvotes. And I know we just popped over 30,000 subscribers. Let's see if we can convert some of this into subscribers. It doesn't cost you anything, but it helps us a lot. So if you can, please do. And if you can't, there are things that you can do. It's sharing. It's getting involved. It's reaching out. There are people that come in here all of the time now, 7 days a week, who are getting active and doing stuff. And we just don't have the human power. We don't have the hands to do all of the things that we want to do. But if